Hello and welcome to this week's Scriptcase video. My name is Jamie Oates and I am your host today. In today's session we will be talking about WordPress and Scriptcase, and I'll be showing you how you can use Scriptcase within your online version of WordPress or even a local version of WordPress, and you will be able to create or generate applications which you can then import and use. So what is WordPress? Well, WordPress is firstly open source, so you can use it for free and basically make changes to it and use its code and so forth. It is essentially a content management system or a tool which allows you to manage websites or manage the content of a website, or essentially, should I say, a blog. Now, 43% of websites today are actually built on WordPress, so many of the sites that you will visit are actually having a WordPress backend. Now, there are more bloggers, small businesses, Fortune 500 companies, and blah, 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 that use WordPress more than any other CMS platform that is available today. So WordPress is quite easy to use, and if you don't know how to code, or if you don't know how to create a website or develop something or anything like that, then WordPress is pretty much ideal because it provides you a very easy interface to use so that you can manage your data, customize your pages, and of course even set up a store. Now, with a little time and patience, anybody can basically build themselves a fully functional website or store within WordPress. So what are the advantages of using WordPress? Well, first of all, WordPress comes available with many online hosts today. So you can already use it. Just click a button and it will pretty much install for you. It has also very good SEO and page structure out of the box. So that is also very good when you come to actually create your content and you want it to be seen by Google. It has a very quick and easy way to style and add content to your pages. Now also plugins galore, thousands of them. Just beware, do not install too many of them because it will really slow down not only your website but the server, because all of those plugins also use resources. But now that may not be an advantage. So what else could we use with WordPress? And one of those options would be WooCommerce. As I had said a few moments ago, you can actually create yourself a fully functional web store, and WooCommerce is available as a plugin which you can just very quickly and simply install into WordPress and then start selling products. So you can customize a store, add further extensions via the plugins, and also customize features and set up an entire customized store for your own products. Now, it also has a large community and many themes and templates available, so you could actually go even without a designer and actually have or download a template which is then fully customized and ready to go for you just to add your products, and you have a fully set up store ready to go. Okay, so we have here also some useful links for you. We have here, first of all, the WordPress URL and also the download URL. So you can download WordPress from here, from wordpress.org/download. And if you'd like to know more about WordPress, you can always check the WordPress website. On the WordPress website, you will find a great deal more information, how to build a website, what its purpose is, how easy it is to use, as well as some examples of how other people have started their websites and so forth. You can also design with blocks and so forth, and that is also something we will be having a look at as we continue on within these videos. Okay, so there's a lot there, and you can actually just scroll through that and check through that. There are various options here where you can actually have WordPress host the site for you and use a version of WordPress which is available then online, hosted by WordPress themselves. Okay, so that is something you can check out. Alternatively, as I said, WordPress is also available on the majority of hosting servers available today. For myself, I actually today have everything set up locally. So I'm not using an online host for today's videos. Okay, so just to note that. We have then also further download links here. First of all, for WooCommerce, if you'd like to know more about WooCommerce. And we then have here also an order simulator. Okay, so that's very handy for troubleshooting and inserting purchases and so forth within WooCommerce for development purposes or for troubleshooting and so forth. And that is something that you can then also set up and download and also then start to have some data there. So that's something we will do during the video today. Okay, so if we check out here the WooCommerce website, you can actually see that it's built exactly for e-commerce websites, and we have some demonstrations or some examples here or some templates. We have then also some plugins which we can then use to customize and extend WordPress, and then pretty much tells us we can run our store from anywhere, which of course we can because we can host it on any type of server these days. Okay, so with that, we have then everything we need. We have our WordPress. We've pretty much downloaded it. So if we come here and download WordPress and download then the latest version, which at the moment is 6.0.2. And then with that download, you can then set that up either on your server or even locally. Now for myself, what I've actually gone and done is I have downloaded the latest version of WAMP. And if I check out the WAMP server page, and you can find that here at sourceforge.net/projects/WAMP server. And if I actually reduce it down a little bit, and then you can see there the URL. Okay, so from here we can then actually download WAMP server, and if I come here to files, we have here the latest WAMP server free. And then from that folder, we have then also WAMP server 3.00. Okay, the WAMP is for if you want to place it on a USB pen or something. But otherwise, if you want to download and install it, you will want to use here the WAMP server 3.0.0. Do download the updates, the applications, add-ons, and tools, all to the latest versions. For instance, here you have WAMP server 3.2.6. for 32-bit and 64-bit operating systems. And then we also have within the updates folder an update for the WAMP server, which will then bring it up to 3.2.9. Okay, and it is then also important to download within tools and add-ons. We have there the latest version of okay, so I'm actually in the wrong folder here, so I'll come back to the WAMP server folder, and we actually want the applications folder as well as the add-ons. So here within the applications folder, we have then the latest PHP MyAdmin, PHP sysinfo, so we can download it and install those, as well as the latest version of AdMiner if you use it. And then within the other folders, we have then also further updates for the PHP to 8.1, which is something we want, of course, for use with Scriptcase with the latest version. And we can then download the latest version of PHP from here, as well as other add-ons for the MySQL server and so forth. Once you have all of those downloaded and installed for the latest version of WAMP, so we have here Apache server, PHP, MariaDB, and MySQL, with the latest versions downloaded and installed, you will then be able to use the WAMP server with Scriptcase, as well as also the latest version of WooCommerce. So with that all set up on your local machine, you will then be able to set up locally your WordPress site, as well as the WooCommerce store, which I have pretty much already done. So if I come here to my dashboard, and you'll see here I have localhost /wp/wp-admin. So that is actually the local host, which is then locally. So I'm actually running this WordPress within the latest version of WAMP that I have downloaded and installed. And if with this, we can then also go ahead and download WooCommerce. Now, if you're using WordPress online on a hosting environment, then you would pretty much follow the same steps from this point onwards. Alternatively, you can of course set up a local development environment, have your WordPress also locally set up and installed, as well as your WooCommerce for Scriptcase development. Okay, so you may be wondering at this point, what about the database tables? So before I jump in and install a plugin here, which would then be the WooCommerce plugin. So if I come here to plugins, we have here all of the plugins available. And you see here, I already have Elementor installed and also disable emails. Okay, so disable emails I have installed so that WooCommerce, once we have that installed, does not send 101 emails when there is no email server, and of course there will be no replies. And Elementor, which is basically a page builder, okay, so that allows us then to drag and drop blocks. Now you get various types of page builder applications, and the majority of those will also be suitable. You do not have to use Elementor or any other. You can pretty much pick and choose the one that is more suitable or the one that you have already installed. And you see here, I'm also using a demo version, so I'm not even using the professional version or anything, again, only for the purpose of this setup and training. Okay, so I would have set this up online, and of course you would have then the setup within an online server, maybe a cPanel or something, but in this case I don't have that. So I have even my PHP admin again on localhost, and that is here where I have then here the wp_wp demo tables, and this is, as you may notice, is basically just WordPress tables. Okay, so there's nothing special here, just a straight install of the latest version of WordPress. I've allowed them WordPress to create and generate the required tables, and then from that we can then continue on. Okay, so if I then jump back here into my Scriptcase, we can then come here to plugins, and let's have a look here for WooCommerce. Let's go Woo. I should actually find it already. Oh, okay, now we get loads and loads of WooCommerce blocks, product feed. Yeah, there is a lot. Okay, so let's just add then WooCommerce entirely. WooCommerce. Okay, and then we have WooCommerce here. And if I just click here, the Install Now button, that will then go ahead and install WooCommerce into the WordPress that I have installed. And it may take a few moments for that to happen, but it's processing in the background, and it's generating all of the new tables that is required for the WooCommerce store, because this is generating an entire store. And then once that's all ready, I can then go ahead and click on Activate, and then the WooCommerce store will essentially be active within my WordPress and available within my left-hand menu here. Okay, so there we go, and WordPress is then coming back for us, and it's already telling us to fill in all our store details and fill all this in to continue. So I'm just going to continue and say fill in some basic details, so United Kingdom. I don't really need to add any of those details. I go continue. No thank you, I don't want to build a better WordPress or WooCommerce. In which industry, I'll just go other. Say tech. Continue. And what type of products we will be listing, and of course WooCommerce provides us many options here, so we can have physical products, downloads, and there are subscriptions, membership, bookings, bundles, and customizable products available. And as you can see, each of those has a cost per month. So I will just allow physical products and downloads, and then continue. And tell us about your business. Okay, so I have 1 to 10 products, and no, I'm not selling anywhere else. I'm setting up a store for a client. Continue. And a recommended business, and of course we can then set up the accept credit cards, get automated sales tags, enhance speed and security, level up your marketing, drive sales with Google Ad listing. And all of these features can then also be enabled for us automatically now during this setup. And then once that has then completed, we then choose here on the final step, the theme. Now you don't need to select all the same options I'm choosing now. Really, the most important factor here is that we actually install WooCommerce and that we set up the database tables. So if I return back here to the database, let's have a look. And there we see already that we have some new tables added in here. We have all the WooCommerce tables, and we have then also a load of views in there for sure now also. And then we can actually just grab hold of those and then use them also within Scriptcase and generate our applications using the content that is provided by WordPress and WooCommerce. Okay, so here the setup is still taking its time. It's taking a few moments. Of course, it's installing all of these options and setting everything up. So it can take a few moments. And then once that has been completed, it can then continue. And there we have now the option for our theme. So we can choose our storefront theme. And we have here a few options here. The Hello Elementor, storefront free, Librarian, and yes, loads of themes to purchase. And of course, I just want to use here basically a demonstration. So I'm going to use here the storefront, which is the default, well, the basic one, instead of here the Elementor, which was then added by the page builder plugin that I have installed. And in reality, really, we want to have here the storefront. Okay, so that has now been installed and activated on my site. And then we continue on to the final step of the WooCommerce setup. Okay, so we can go ahead now and set up Jetpack if we wanted to, and I'll generally just go ahead and do this. And of course there's an error, it's not connecting to anything and it is offline, so we would have to be actually online to use all of the features of Jetpack and enable that. But otherwise, we have here, first of all, our WooCommerce. And then we have here on our home, we have here 7 notifications already. So if I choose that, things to do. Okay, so here on home, we have add store details, add products, select WooCommerce payments, add tax rates, add shipping costs, get more sales, and personalize your store. So we need to add all of these details here first of all so that we can complete the WooCommerce setup and then start to generate applications. So now I could go through all of that through the entire setup of WooCommerce and adding the products and so much more. And of course we would basically need to set all of this up first and so forth, but I don't really want to bore you with the entire setup of WooCommerce. I don't think that's why you're here today. You're really here and watching this video because you want to know how you can use Scriptcase with WordPress. And honestly, the setup I've been showing you now for WooCommerce is possibly more complicated and complex than using applications from Scriptcase. Because of course, as we know, and why you are watching this video, is Scriptcase is just amazing and we can pretty much use it anywhere. And at the same time, it's very quick at generating its content. And we can more than likely generate a few really cool applications pretty quickly in the time that it's taken us to generate the WooCommerce store, set it all up, and so forth. Okay, so I am going to jump ahead and not bore you with this entire setup. But before I do that, do pay attention here to the order-simulator-WooCommerce. If you are using WooCommerce or you want to generate content from WooCommerce using Scriptcase, because I
may or may not do that, but of course really we just want to see how we can use Scriptcase within WooCommerce, or within WordPress should I say. Okay, so with our site, and I could, like I said, set up the order generator now, go ahead with that. It will simulate a load of orders for us and basically add a load of content here into the orders table. Okay, which right now there are no orders because we have no content, we have no coupons, we have no settings, we have no products. None of that has been added yet, and it all in this case still needs to be set up. Okay, so what do we want to know? We want to know how we can use Scriptcase within WordPress. And that is, of course, the main topic of this week's video. And that is really what we want to come to. So if I come into Scriptcase and I start by generating a new blank project, I can choose to create a blank project. And if I call this WP, and I'm going to call it what it is, underscore iframe. Okay, so if you know already what I'm talking about, then you may already be stopping this video. And if that is the case, then I'm sorry, but you already have the answer to how easy or how to use Scriptcase within WordPress, because this is exactly what we will be doing, using iframes. Okay, so in this case, if we want to connect to WordPress, we would of course be connected to the same database as WordPress, and we would then need to connect to those specific tables. So from there, I can test the connection, I can go next, and just like that, my new project is now based on the WordPress database. Okay, so and then from there we can then go ahead, choose our languages. So I'll just leave it in English, and from here we can then choose a theme. And I'm feeling pretty red today, so I'm going to go here with the Sweet and More and choose that also here as my default theme. I don't want the blueberry no more. I hate to waste space, so I will remove it entirely and just leave here as default the Sweet and More. Now there are many other templates here, and as you see, different color schemes, and the majority of these SC9 ones, they have these a very similar layout and so forth. The color scheme is very different, so do check those out. They are very nice. If you fancy something different, just click the load more themes and you will have some of the older generation ones, and one of my favorite ones is still here somewhere if I can find it. No, it's actually gone. So, okay, my favorite one is actually gone, but here it is, the SC9 Rhino. So the SC9 Rhino is one of the nicest themes if you want to check that out. Alternatively, of course, if you're in a dark mood, check out the SC9 Midnight. Okay, so with the theme selected for our project, we can just go ahead and click the Create button, and just like that, our project is created. And the first thing it's going to ask us to do is to generate applications, because we have no applications available yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all come into root, and from root I'm going to first of all generate or create a new folder, and I'll just call that WP, and within this folder I will then have all of the WordPress related applications. So in this case I could create a grid, and if I wanted to choose a table, I can click here, choose the table. I'm already connected to the database that I have selected, and from here I can access then all of the WordPress tables, and you can see here we have all of the mail tables, and if I scroll down we have the post table, we have all of the coupons, the taxes, the hooks, the WooCommerce payments, sessions, tax rates, everything that is available in here. So if I come here, for instance, to order items, we have then order item ID, the name, the type, and then order item. And if I choose here the item meta, we have then the meta ID, the order item ID, the meta key, the meta value, and then of course from these we can then either generate or create our own views, which would be something I will have to go ahead and do in a few moments, because I think that would be the best way then to create your content or view content from all of these WordPress tables. Now alternatively, of course, you can have alternative, as in other tables that are not related to WordPress, actually displayed within this database. Generate your grid on that specific table. So if I just create one table here, I'll go with the comments, for instance, and then with the comments table, I have then all of the data from WordPress comments. And just like that, Speedy Gonzales, I already have a grid ready. And that was much faster than even just one setting within WordPress or within WooCommerce or any of that. Much faster. Okay, so just like that, we have our comments available within Scriptcase, and we can already start to either develop our own applications around WordPress, as in create our own back end to manage content within WordPress, or also to display specific information to us. So we can also go ahead and create a dashboard if we wanted to, or a form, or even charts from the related data that we have within the WordPress table. Okay, so once we have our table, as I said, we can actually create a dashboard. So if I go ahead and create a dashboard, I'll create a dashboard here. And then let's add here, for instance, add in here the grid that we just created, which is here, grid WP comments. Save that, and if I run that, then it will then place then the grid here within the dashboard application. And of course we could further customize that. So for instance here within WP comments, I'll change here the width of the grid to 100 pixels, and just like that we'll have the grid at 100 pixels. We don't need the majority of this content here, so we don't need an actual search form, we don't want a detail form, we don't need a summary, and we don't need the chart. Of course, if you want to leave any of those specific features within the application, as you see, it really is just a click away, and just with a click you can add details, summary, charts, also within the dashboard, also within the grid, and then import that within your WordPress application. Okay, so if I carry on here for a moment, if I come here then to the settings, because I really hate things looking too ugly, and I really also have this habit of placing everything at the top and 100%. Okay, so there we go. Now we have our grid looking good there, and if we did have the grid modules, width 100%. Sorry, 100%, not 100 pixels. That would make a big difference. And now if we generate the comments grid application, and then what we want to do then is run the dashboard, and now the dashboard will be with the updated grid. And just like that, we already have the start of a dashboard together. And we can make further customizations. But for instance, we can add an index widget. We can add here the connection, and then we can choose here a table, for instance. And we can choose here, for instance, one of the WooCommerce tables, for instance, the tax rates, or even from the orders or so forth. But first, I think what I'll do is we will go ahead and create a few views. And then with those views, we can then extrapolate specific data and display that within this dashboard for the user. So for instance, if we go ahead and run that now, we have then our initial dashboard with our grid, and again with the grid we can make some further changes here for the fields and display the content that we want just by simply dragging and dropping that content over and displaying that then within the grid application as we want. So here we have then approved content, the user ID, the date when that was, and so much more. And of course we can use all of the other features from the grid application within WordPress, because we are using the Scriptcase applications. So if I apply a group here, for instance, a static group, and change that, say comment date, and we want the dates then by month, and then run that, that would then be grouped by month, and then we have then all of the comments displayed really nicely within the grid, grouped by month. And of course we can make further adjustments and changes to the grid however we please, so that it is displayed within the dashboard, within this dashboard application, or any other application that you are wanting to use. Okay, so we want to actually generate a few other applications and go ahead and create a few more. I want to also create a few views first of all and attach those to this project. And then with a few minor adjustments within the database table, we have first of all added now a ton of products, some data in there. So we have some further data we can capture within Scriptcase and display that, as well as some views. So we have here first of all a view for the order product lookup, the stats, the statistics where they failed, pending, process, so forth. And they can then be all used within Scriptcase, where we can then go ahead and generate further content. So there's tables. You will be able to download these and install these yourselves and use them, of course. If I go ahead and refresh this so that we have all of the data here on the left displayed correctly, and we can see there now we have these views displayed here, as well as all of the default tables. Now within the default tables, we have here for the orders, for the WooCommerce orders, have also gone and added a load of data already. So if I come here to the views for the order lookup, we can actually see here we have some orders that have been added into the database and some statistics and so forth, and that can then all be captured and used within Scriptcase and then displayed within a custom dashboard or within your grid applications or just about any other application that you want to generate or develop within Scriptcase. And then back within Scriptcase, we can then continue on creating our dashboard as well as some other grid applications. So the comments we had generated before, let's go ahead and generate one on one of the new views that we have added now to the database. And if I come here to table and I'll refresh that so that we get the latest database information there. And if I scroll down here, we have then the views at the bottom. And then from here, I can then either choose the lookup or one of the other options that we have there. And if I just go ahead and click create now, and then of course we can go ahead and make adjustments to the fields that we have here. So we can have then the total sales and all of the relevant information from the customer and so forth. So we have here then the revenue, the order item name. Let's go ahead and run that and check that. And just like that, then we have a grid within Scriptcase with all of the product information already. So we have here the Coca-Colas and so forth, mayonnaise that's been ordered, the quantity that has been ordered, the total of sales, the net revenue of that, the status of this purchase, as well as then the customer ID, product ID, as well as then also the client first name and last name. And all of that data is then captured within the database and then the view table that I have just added. And we can generate views within Scriptcase by using here the SQL builder. So if you're not sure on how to generate a view or how to create custom selects, for instance, then use here the SQL builder. Simply click that. And then from here, choose the tables that you want to view the data from. And then you can continue on, confirm that, select the fields, combine the tables and so forth, and then also run your query at the end of that. And if you want to use your query again within the future, go ahead and save it, of course, so that you can quickly access it here within the saved options. So back within the grid application, let's just go ahead and also change here the width of the grid so that it is the same as our other applications. And again, I will remove here the detail. I will leave the summary and chart this time and also remove the search. Then within the settings here, I will choose the vertical alignment and set that as top. Go ahead and run the grid application again. And just like that, we have 2 applications in half the time it took me to install WooCommerce into WordPress. So just like that, we have then our grid ready. We could then further customize this, adjust all of the fields. We could add the customer ID so that it's actually displayed as the full name instead of having the 2 fields. We can change the label. We can change the buttons. We can change the entire layout of this grid and even add clicks and links and buttons and everything else into this as we need or as we please for the project on which we are building. And then, of course, once you are ready with your grid application within your dashboard, so let's go ahead and run our dashboard again. We have then our dashboard and then our grid application, and within the dashboard we can actually add a few widgets in here also. Index widget, and we have need to define the connection first, and then we can have then the table, and here we have then also the views which we want to access here. So here we have the product lookup, and we can then come here, for instance, the total sales. We can count the total sales, for instance, and for the month, for instance, and we can also display both the periods and display the differences in a percentage or even as a value, however you please. So if I go ahead and save that for now, and let me just adjust that, we can run that and also, and then we can just have a quick look at what that looks like with the new widget in there. And there we see already just this month we have a 602,000% difference in our sales this month. And of course we can make further adjustments to this, change the color of that or anything else, or even just add some further widgets in here. So again, if I choose the product lookup, and this time we don't want the total sales, but maybe the product quantity, and we can then again count that, and again for the month, and see if the total quantity of products is different from last month, for instance. Any kind of calculation like that we want to actually apply in here, we can very quickly apply that here within the index widgets, run that again, and then just like that we have then another calculation for us there. Did I choose the same table again? I don't think I did. Product quantity and total sales is a different metric field, but okay, let's go ahead and actually choose then a different table. So if we come here for the processed, and here we have the total sales, and again we have date created as well, and here maybe we want to get the average of that. We can save that and we can run that also, and then just like so we have then a completely different calculation again being displayed within our dashboard. Of course we can add as many index widgets in here as we want, following the table data that we have available, and of course make further adjustments to, for instance, the data or the metrics that we are having displayed. So here I will sum that again for the same period, and I'll choose month again and just leave that so, and I'll drag that over there. I'm just going to create 3 of these now, so let's go ahead and make these a little bit bigger, run that, and then we have our dashboard once again, and again we have our data in here, and we can further customize this by clicking here the pen icon. We have here further formatting options where we can change the metric format, so it's not decimal, it's just an integer or maybe even a currency. We have here also the decimal precision that we can change, as well as the regional settings, zeros, the period, filters we can also apply. We can also make further adjustments to the layout, so when it's positive or negative, that the color of the numbers and so forth then changes according to the data that is displayed within the index widget. For the properties, now all of these properties are then display typically here for the dashboard. So here we have the widget options, the closing button and so forth. Now for these index widgets, as you see, they're typically not displayed, but for these other items that display then applications within widgets, they will have all of those features enabled, and for those then you can also remove them. For these index widgets at the top, they are not really used. So if I go ahead and run that again, we have then a semi-complete dashboard, which we would then essentially want to import into WordPress and then use. Okay, so we need to jump back into WordPress, and if I come back here to WordPress platform, we have then here, for instance, our pages, and within our pages we can then add further content. So if I just take here the sample page, we can basically add it into the majority of these pages or add new pages and then add our Scriptcase developed applications into those. So here within the sample page, if I just select that one, and then within the default editor at the moment there is no option, so this is why we are actually using here the Elementor. So if I edit with Elementor, and then we will have here the block that we have available. Now what I do need to do, of course, is I need to export the project, and then I can start actually using it here within WordPress. But that, I'm afraid, would all happen within the next video, where we will also add some further content into the dashboard and customize that a little more, and then we will import also the page within WordPress and then have that also displayed for our end users on our website. So thank you very much for watching this Scriptcase video. My name is Jamie Oates, and I will see you in part 2 of this week's video.